What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. This is my Dana White's Contender Series breakdown and prediction video for week number 3, and we are getting right back into it. We got some fights on a Tuesday night here, and looking forward to it. This season thus far, I think, has been very fun. Had some good fights, and yeah, I think this card's no different. Some good fights on this card. Not a ton of guys I'm extremely high on this card in particular, but I think there are going to be some fun fights, right? Some fun fights, some finishes here, and that's all we could ask for on a Tuesday night. Before we get into it, if you guys could please do me a favor, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you have not already. If you guys do want to support me more, the best way to do so is checking out dfsbythenumbers.com, doing a ton of Dana White's Contender Series content on there behind the scenes. You get the fighter notes, the betting breakdown video, the best bet article as well. Had a ton of success last week and looking to continue that with week 3 here. And I do also want to shout out the Prize Picks. If you guys are new to Prize Picks and want to check it out, use code DFSBTN and you'll get $50 instantly when you place your first $5 lineup. And yes, they do have Prize Picks for Dana White's Contender Series. You guys are going to check that out. Use that code DFSBTN and get your guys some free $50 when you place that first $5 lineup. And with all that out of the way, I say we get into it here, and we're going to start with the first fight of the card, and it is going to be Nick Piccininni going against Jack Duffy. And sorry if my voice sounds a little bit different. I am a little bit under the weather. Every time I go on a plane, I get sick for some reason, so I need to stop going on planes. Anyway, we got Piccininni, who is training out of Fortis MMA. He's 27 years old, 5'6" with a 65-inch reach. Piccininni's 6-0 and obviously 5-0 in his last 5 fights. No notable wins or losses for Piccininni. It has an 83% finish rate, all those coming by submission. No knockouts on the record for Nick Piccininni. So for some notes I have on him, he has a solid jab, kicks, and pressure. He will throw overhands to close distance and go for the takedown. He can be pretty low volume when the fight is standing, but ultimately he's looking to get the fight down to the ground at all costs. Has really good wrestling and really good entries. Was really impressed with his wrestling. His control is really good as well, and once he does take you down, you're typically staying there. I haven't really seen many guys get up all too often when Piccininni's taking them down. He's relentless when the fight gets down to the mat. He's sticking to his opponents like glue. He'll hunt for submissions a lot, and the cardio is really good, and you'd like to see that from somebody who's going to go out there and implement that kind of style of, wrestling to win fights over 15 minutes if he's not able to get that submission. So the cardio checks out, which is, you love to see it. He will use ground and pound to open up his submissions. His control, like I said, really impressed me. He's very good on top. And I think Piccininni is pretty good. As long as he's able to get fights down to the mat, I think he's going to win a lot of fights in the future. As far as his opponent, Jack Duffy, Jack Duffy's training out of MMA Gold Fight Team. He's 28 years old, 5'7", with a 69-inch reach. He's 7-0 and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Notable wins or losses, nobody too notable, but he did beat Devin Jackson his last fight, and Devin Jackson gave Josh Van his submission, his first loss, and that was a submission loss. So Devin Jackson, he's decent, and he was able to go out there and beat Jackson in that fight. As far as Duffy's finish rate, he's 28% knockout rate, 56% submission rate for an overall finish rate of 86%. So some notes I have here on Duffy. He's very, very aggressive in there. He will throw some kicks, but he's ultimately looking to get the fight down to the mat early and often. And really, whenever the fight is taking place, like whether it's on the feet, whether it's on the mat, he's going to be very active. He's going to be very aggressive, sometimes overly aggressive with his strikes or with his grappling, his ground and pound, his submission attempts, his back kicks especially. And Jack Duffy is just very, very fun to watch overall. I have seen him dropped hard, but he was able to recover pretty much instantly, and I'm not sure he has the best cardio. He does start to look tired in there after that first round, and that's kind of to be the case and to be expected with a guy that's going to go completely balls to the wall, completely berserk as soon as the opening bell. So yeah, he looks to get fights down to the mat early and often. Like I said, he will make some mistakes and end up on bottom. He is most certainly submission over position, most of the time. And yeah, he's really aggressive once the fight hits the mat with the ground and pound, has very, very slick BJJ. His back takes are very impressive. I've seen him take guys down and, get their back instantly. But like I said, he can make mistakes and he can get a little bit tired. And I have seen him taken down pretty easily as well. And there's also wasn't a ton of footage out there of Jack Duffy. This guy has 7 fights, was only able to see three of them there. But yeah, from what I saw, I think Jack Duffy is going to be a fun and exciting fighter, and I think this fight's going to be fun and exciting as well. So yeah, we have a very fun fight to kick off the card here. Duffy has some very slick grappling, but Piccininni is going to be the better wrestler here. I expect Piccininni to be able to dictate where this fight takes place. Duffy might be able to have some success here and there, early especially, but as the fight goes on, I do trust the cardio a lot more of Piccininni. I also like the control of Piccininni and could see him winning minutes on top here. I think this fight's going to actually primarily play out on the ground, and I got to go with the better wrestler here, and I think that's going to be Piccininni, and I think he's going to win this fight by decision. So give me Nick Piccininni to kick it off, and I'll take him to win by decision. We'll take a look at the odds here. We have Piccininni minus 350, Jack Duffy plus 285. And yeah, I think Piccinini's the real deal. I think this guy's very solid, but Duffy, this guy is extremely dangerous, and we'll see what happens. But I gotta go with Piccininni here, and I'm gonna take him to win by decision. Moving on to the next fight, we have Malcolm Wellmaker going against Adam Bramhald. We got Wellmaker, who is 30 years old, 5'10", with a 71-inch reach. He's 7-0 and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. No notable wins or losses really for Wellmaker there. He does have a 71% finish rate, 43% comes by knockout, and 28% of his wins come by submission. Some notes I have here on Wellmaker: he's very calm and very patient on the feet, very patient. Nice hard leg and body kicks, and he's very defensively sound. I like his pressure, very fast hands, and has some real power. Looks pretty good when he lets his hands go, and I would like to see him let his hands go a little bit more. I love the head movement from him, and he slowly kind of works his way into fights, but he is a very slow starter nonetheless. And he's just a very technical, like a very, very technical fighter. The volume is a concern, though, and I would like to see him throw more, because when he does throw more, he does look pretty good in there, and he's able to hurt guys and get him out of there and win minutes especially. Yeah, when he lets his hands go, his kicks, his hands, he's very accurate and has some power in both his hands and his kicks. I've seen him knock guys out cold in some of his fights. So Wellmaker, although I think is a very good striker, I think he's very technical on the feet. This guy can wrestle as well. He'll initiate the clinch, has good knees in the clinch, will mix in takedowns here or there. He has good control of ground and pound, will also attack with submission whilst on top. I think he's a very good overall fighter, great cardio, can win the fight really wherever it goes. I think on the feet, he can win minutes there. Defensively, I like what I see, and then on top of that, the guy can wrestle as well. So just very good, well-rounded technical fighter in Malcolm Wellmaker. The only knock on him would be just a little bit low volume. Let his hands go a little bit more, but overall, I think he looks pretty good. As far as his opponent, Adam Bramhald, this guy is training out of Asylum Valley Tudo. He is 30 years old, 5'10", with a 70-inch reach. He's 13-2 and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Bramhald, no notable wins or losses for him for the most part, but he does have some solid experience with 15 fights. So Bramhald has a 77% finish rate, 46% of those come by knockout, and 31% of those come by submission. Some notes I have on Bramhald is he has solid leg kicks, very active there and looking to strike. I think in terms of activity, Bramhald's probably the more active striker. But defensively, it's night and day between the two. Defensively, Bramhald leaves a lot of openings. He will throw body kicks, head kicks, and flying knees. I've seen him land a flying knee before. Lots of tools on the feet for Bramhald. His striking is fun to watch. I like his volume. He will throw in combinations, but doesn't look to have really a ton of power. I've seen him get beat up pretty bad on the feet at times. He doesn't really look to do well with pressure as well. Doesn't really move his head and fights with his hands down low, which you don't like to see, and has been knocked out before. And you can kind of see why. This guy is pretty hittable in there. Decent takedown defense and scrambling ability. When he does get taken down, he's able to get back up. But I have seen him taken down, and he's active off his back when he is taken down, which is good. Has some submissions on his record, but doesn't really look to get the fight down to the mat. I haven't really seen many of his submissions, but he does have a couple. I think he is solid. I like his volume, but he is pretty hittable, and his takedown defense isn't the best, and I think that could be a problem here. So some final thoughts on this matchup. I would like Wellmaker to show a little bit more urgency. We are on the Contender series, and Dana always talks about guys wanting to go in there, and he wants guys to get finishes and being aggressive, and that's kind of the thing. And maybe that will make Wellmaker be more aggressive here, because if he's more aggressive and shows more urgency, I think this guy can be pretty solid. But the urgency is kind of the one thing that I don't love. But yeah, there's no doubt in my mind who the better fighter is in this matchup, and I think it's Wellmaker. I think Wellmaker is more defensively sound, more powerful, has more paths to victory. I think Wellmaker can win minutes wherever the fight goes, but especially in the clinch and on the mat. I expect him to go for takedowns here and get them pretty easily. I think Wellmaker wins this fight, and I think he's going to win this fight by decision. So give me Malcolm Wellmaker to win this fight, and I'm going to take him to win this fight by decision. As far as the odds here, Wellmaker minus 260 and Bramhald is plus 220 there. And yeah, I think Wellmaker could very well look minus 260 just if he goes out there and with a little more urgency, but I think he has more ways to win. Rightful favorite in Wellmaker, in my opinion. Moving on, we have Marco Tulio, and he is taking on Matthieu Duclos. We will start with Tulio here, who is training out of Shoot to Box Diego Lima. He's 29 years old, 6'1", with a 74.5-inch reach, 11-1, and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Notable wins or losses for Tulio. He beat Yursi Belgario on the Contender Series last year by decision. There are 2 fighters on this card who are coming back for a second turn on the Contender Series, and this is going to be the first one in Tulio. And he did go out there and he won the fight, but did not get signed. So Tulio has a 73% finish rate overall, 64% come by knockout, and 9% comes by submission. He is going to be undersized in this matchup. He's going to have a reach disadvantage as well. But yeah, he's a very fun striker. He will stand and trade until one man falls, but he does show great composure, and he does absolutely have power. I like the volume, pressure, and power he does bring to the table, and he's not afraid to go out there and throw down in the pocket. He did start out very slow in his Dana White's Contender Series fight, but he started to really put it on late, and that was nice to see. In the 3rd round, he was able to get a takedown. Early to mid of the round, I was able to control the fight from then on out and won the fight pretty clearly, in my opinion, but it wasn't enough to get the contract, and I think he needed to be a little more aggressive in that matchup, and then I think he needs to be a little more aggressive in this matchup as well. So Tulio, he will go for takedowns, and I think he'll more than likely be looking to go for takedowns in this fight as well. I think that'd be wise. He has a very solid ground game once on top. He's able to get into dominant positions and do damage. He can be taken down and controlled himself, but he will not have to worry about that in this fight, I don't think. As far as his opponent, Matthieu Duclos, he is training out of Warren Team Elite. He's 29 years old, 6'3", with a 77-inch reach. He's 6-2 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. No notable wins or losses for Duclos. Very questionable level of competition, if I'm being honest. But Duclos does have an 83% finish rate. All those come by knockout. 0 subs on the record for him. Notes I have on Duclos: he's been finished in both of his losses, and like I said, has not faced the greatest competition at all. He looks very fun and exciting. He's looking to go out there and take his opponent's heads off, which is always fun to see. He has very nice kicks and spinning attacks. He's extremely aggressive in there, and I think it's going to kind of make for a fun fight once his fight is standing. He has a nasty question mark kick that he lands, and I think he's a very high-level striker overall and just very fun to watch. The takedown defense does look solid, but it's certainly going to be tested in this matchup here. He's been able to get some takedowns himself, but I don't really see that happening here against Tulio. He passes the eye test, but this is going to be his toughest test by a mile, and his grappling surely is going to be tested. It's one of those things where it's like, this guy, he looks good, but against some of the worst level of competition imaginable, right? So, looks good, but this is going to be a step up to say the least. Yeah, final thoughts on this matchup. I think this is probably going to be, I say, the first or second best fight on the card, in my opinion. This fight's going to be very fun. Duclos is a very fun and exciting striker who's honestly just over-aggressive, but he's fought nobody, and that's going to change here. I have a feeling that Tulio can hang in the striking for sure, but is going to have an astronomical advantage here against the cage and on the mat. I think Tulio gets his fight down to the ground and finds a submission actually shortly after. But I wouldn't really like him to mess around on the feet here much. I think, like I said, he can certainly hang in the striking. I think Tulio is a good striker in his own right. It's just, I have a sneaky suspicion that if he takes his fight down to the mat, he's going to just destroy this guy. So, yeah, give me Tulio. I'm going to take him to win this fight by first round submission. Moving on, and by the way, Tulio is the biggest favorite on the card, minus 440. Duclos is plus 340. I think Tulio is really good, but there are some uncertainties and question marks and unknowns about this Duclos guy, so we'll see. Moving on to the next fight, we have another guy making his return, and that is going to be Bogdan Grad, and he's taking on Michael Aswell. We'll start with Michael Aswell. He's training out of Metro Fight Club, which I believe is or was the gym of Adrian Yanez. But anyway, Aswell, 23 years old, 5'8" with a 70-inch reach, 9-1 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Not really any notable wins or losses for Aswell there. Aswell has a 56% finish rate, and all those come by knockout. No submissions on the record of Aswell. So some notes I have on him: he comes out very hot, very quick hands, and packs some power in his punches. He's very aggressive in there. I like his constant pressure. When he hurts somebody, he swarms them until he gets them out of there. Nice jab, good combinations. The volume is really solid, and he will go out there and stand and bang at times. The guy's only 23 years old, but he looks pretty good in there. Like, he doesn't look extremely green. He looks solid. He looks like he knows what he's doing. Very impressed with his striking overall. He's willing to eat one to give one, but he does have a solid chin, and he's never been knocked out in 10 professional fights. The grappling could be a concern. He was taken down and got his back instantly taken in his only loss. He was put into some bad spots, but to his credit, he was able to survive, and he did a lot better in rounds 2 and rounds 3. I think Aswell has some solid upside. His striking solid, but I do think he needs to keep the fight on the feet in a lot of his matchups in here as well. As far as Bogdan Grad, this is a guy who is 28 years old. He's 5'8", 13-2 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Notable wins or losses here: he lost to Tom Nolan on the Contender Series by first round knockout. I think that fight lasted about like a minute, a little bit over a minute there. Other than that, hasn't really fought the best competition in the world. Grad has a overall finish rate of 85%, 62% of those come by knockout, 23% come by submission. Some notes I have on Grad: he's very kick-heavy on the feet. He did land a nasty flying knee in one of his last fights that knocked out his opponent cold. And he, like I said, he was knocked out brutally on the Contender Series last year against Tom Nolan, which, not the worst loss in the world, but you don't love to see that. And yeah, he was really undersized at lightweight. His fight against Tom Nolan was at lightweight, but he did move down a weight class, which is pretty smart. And since moving down a weight class, he is 2-0 and has won both those fights by finish, which is good. Yeah, I think Grad's a decent wrestler. He's looking to get the fight down to the mat in a lot of his fights. He does stick to his opponents like glue when he gets them there. He'll hold guys against the cage, look towards the back, has solid cardio and grappling, looks to be solid as well. Good ground and pound once on top. Not the best wrestler, I'd say, but it's something he does go for, a lot, and maybe I think he'll try to wrestle a little bit here as well, but I have seen him taken down himself and reverse multiple times in a few of his fights. I don't think he has the best takedown defense either. And yeah, like I said, he has, since moving down to lightweight, which I think is smart, right? Like, he's going to be undersized at lightweight, by the way. I just realized this says 265 pounds at featherweight. There we go. All right. Yeah, I think this guy was really undersized at lightweight, especially against Tom Nolan. But in general, I think he's going to be undersized at lightweight. Even at featherweight, I feel like he's still a little bit undersized. But obviously, that was good to see him move down a weight class there. Oh my goodness, my voice is like leaving. Are we back? We are back. All right. What am I doing? And again, don't do drugs, guys. Let me get some water. Oh, don't do drugs. For the love of God. Or you'll end up like this. Where the heck were we? Anyway, final thoughts on this matchup. I think Aswell is going to be a much better striker here. The takedown defense worries me a bit, but as long as he doesn't get taken down and he's able to work his way back up, I think he'll be good here and do the better work on the feet. I feel like Grad's last 2 wins don't hold a ton of weight for me. This is going to be a dog fight, and I think Aswell has a little bit more dog in him. I think Aswell finds the chin of Grad at some point. And yeah, I'm looking forward to this fight. I think it's a pretty fun clash of styles in this one. But I'm going to go Michael Aswell to win this fight by knockout in the second round. Grad's dangerous early, but I think as the fight goes on, it's going to favor Aswell more and more. So give me Aswell to win this fight by third round knockout. Moving on to the main event, we have Andrey Pulyaev going against Liam Anderson, and we will start with Andrey Pulyaev. And by the way, I keep forgetting, it's a straight pick'em, and I wouldn't be surprised if Grad goes off as the favorite by fight time because it's been steam coming his way. Anyway, Andrey Pulyaev, we'll start with him. He's taking on Liam Anderson. Pulyaev, he's 26 years old, 6'4", with a 78-inch reach, 8-2 or 4-1 in his last 5 fights. No notable wins or losses for Pulyaev. Pulyaev has an 88% finish rate, 63% by knockout, 25% by submission. Some notes I have on him. There's not a ton of tape available on Pulyaev, but he looks very long, very rangy, very kick-heavy as well. He's patient in there. Can be a little bit low volume at times. I like his kicks to the body, and they do land pretty hard. And yeah, he's there to be hit clean, but he seems to take shots well for the most part, but he has been knocked out before, which is something to mention. He holds his hands very low and tries to roll with the punches, but he's getting hit way too much in there. He does kind of like the Dusko Todorovic type striking defense where, chin up in the air, tall man defense type. It's not the best look in the world. Pulyaev will go for takedowns, but doesn't seem to be the best wrestler. Some pretty poor entries at times. He does his best when he's chaining takedown attempts together, and eventually he will get his opponents down to the mat. And he's very heavy on top and does have a little bit of a submission game as well. And both the fights that I did see did end in submission wins. But yeah, like I said, there's not a ton of footage available on this guy. There's a ton of unknowns. I would like to see a little bit more. He has 10 fights, only able to see, I think, 2 or 3. As far as Liam Anderson, this guy is training at Team Anderson. He's 29 years old, 6'3", with a 74-inch reach, 6-2 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. No notable wins or losses for Anderson. He has a 100% finish rate, 33% of those by knockout, 67% by submission, kind of an equal opportunity finisher. Some notes I have on Anderson: has very heavy leg kicks on the feet. He'll throw with bad intentions. Striking defense leaves a lot to be desired. I think both these guys have just the worst striking defense ever. He does have a nasty head kick that I saw him land and destroy his opponent, knocked him out cold. He has some decent hands as well. Was actually really impressed with the hands of Liam Anderson also. Does not move his head at all, at least with Pulyaev. He's trying to move his head. With Anderson, he's hit me, I can take it. And yeah, he has a good chin, but geez, just very, very hittable, eating punches with his face. But to his credit, he's very tough. Anderson is a brown belt in BJJ. He can be taken down and controlled. His last loss, he was taken down multiple times. I don't think he's the best wrestler, but when he does get fights down to the mat, he's dangerous and he can finish. His cardio is solid. He has a ton of heart, which I think is key. Only thing I didn't really like is him being taken down and being content off of his back. Some final thoughts on this matchup. This is a very tough fight to call, in my opinion. This is probably the fight on the card I'm least looking forward to, which is crazy to say because it's the main event, but I'm not really high on either of these guys at all. Really at all. With Pulyaev, he's not faced the best competition, and like I said, there's not a ton of footage on him. His striking defense is poor, and he's pretty low volume in there. And a big thing is I don't think he has the power to knock out a very hittable Anderson. I think guys with power is going to give Liam Anderson some serious issues, but I just don't think that guy's Pulyaev. I think Anderson's going to be the better striker here. He's going to have the better cardio as well, more heart as well, and as long as he can avoid getting stuck on his back, I think he does enough to win a decision or lands a big shot and gets a knockout. But I'll say Anderson wins this fight. I'll take him to win this fight by knockout here. And one thing I do want to mention with the line is Pulyaev actually opened up a massive favorite. I want to say closer to -300. So I'm not sure if they know something about this guy or what, but yeah, he opened up -300 and that line has flipped, and now Liam Anderson is currently a -200 favorite. So I like Anderson here, but like I said, I'm not the highest on either of these guys. And there you have it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Try to get through it as quick as possible. Again, I'm just not feeling the best right now, but hopefully that changes soon. Anyway, yeah, guys, check out Prize Picks. Use code DFSBTN, and you'll get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Check it out. It's a free $50 on your first $5 lineup there. And then also, I will be potentially dropping a betting breakdown video for this card as well. I know we don't have UFC coming up this week, so I typically do the betting breakdown video behind a paywall, but might put that out there for you guys this week. So be on the lookout for that as well. Would be on the channel. And then, yeah, guys, best of luck. Like on your way out, subscribe, and we'll talk to you guys soon. See you.